Live from New York City, it's the Gary Null Show. And now, your host, Gary Null.
Hi, I'm Gary Null. Nice to have you with us today. We're going to begin with some new studies about potatoes. They're part of a healthy diet, not French fries, not mashed potatoes, but I'll get into that in a moment. This comes from Louisiana State University. Why? Because when we think of a healthy diet, we think of vegetables and fruits. We don't think about potatoes. We should, because potatoes have developed a reputation for causing weight gain and an increased risk of type 2 diabetes, and often find themselves on a list of foods to avoid. All right, especially for individuals with insulin resistance. However, a new study from Pennington Biomedical Research Center at Louisiana State University, published in the Journal of Medicinal Food, says that potatoes are actually not at high risk for disease. In fact, they're filled with key nutrients and are packed with healthy benefits. Dr. Rebbio, a professor at Pennington Biomedical, said that they demonstrated that, contrary to common belief, potatoes do not negatively impact blood glucose levels. In fact, the individuals who participated in their study lost weight. People tend to eat the same weight of food regardless of caloric content in food to make them feel full, the satiety factor. By eating foods with a heavier weight that are low in calories, you can easily reduce the number of calories you consume. The key aspect of the study is that they did not reduce the portion size of meals, but allowed their caloric content to be including potatoes. Each participant in their meals was tailored to their personalized caloric needs. Yet by replacing some meat content with potatoes, participants found themselves fuller, quicker, and often did not even finish their meal. In effect, you can lose weight with a little effort. So just something to think about. Now keep in mind, the whole key to losing weight and maintaining a proper body weight is to make sure that you are staying away from a high meat diet. Why? Because most of the meats that people eat today are high in fat. And that fat is converted into a very pro-inflammatory fat in the body called arachidonic acid. And that's why sometimes after eating meat, you'll find swelling around your joints, pain, including the pain that comes from eating too high a protein from animal proteins, gout, and lactic acid, tiny little lactic acid crystals. Feels like shards of glass around our joints, especially the feet and toes. But when you take away the meat in the diet and you replace it with plant-based foods, the plant-based foods are rich in nutrients, far more than meat, outside of meat, giving you iron too much, wrong kind, and protein too much. Mind you, in one single meal, you can consume an entire day supply. You can consume an entire day supply of protein in just the meat in that one meal. That means that the other meat in the other meals, the average person has 3 meals a day, all with meat in different types, fried chicken, beef, pork, veal, fish. That's too much protein. The body does not store protein. There's no way to store it. You can store calories, you can store fat, not protein. So the body has to break down this extra protein. It's called deaminization. And in the process of breaking down the protein through deaminization, you create 2 byproducts, urea and ammonium. Both are toxic. And that's why frequently people on high protein diets, meat-based diets, end up feeling brain fog, fatigue, achy joints. They don't have that get up and go. That's because too much protein. Now, when you have vegetables, you can eat a whole plate of vegetables and it'll fill you up, but it digests quickly, has good fiber. Meat has no fiber. It has a full spectrum of phytonutrients like your beta carotenes. All of these help boost your immune system. Meat doesn't boost your immune system unless you're grossly malnourished. So by getting onto a healthy plant-based diet, you're eating less calories. Why? Because meat is dense in calories. Just to give you an example, let's say you have a 16-ounce steak. That's not unusual, especially down in Texas and the Southwest where people like big steaks. And also, if you see some of the gourmet steakhouses in New York that I used to go to with my friends, I would have a baked potato and some broccoli and vegetables, and they'd have this big steak. And so let's just say that half of that is fat. That's 8 ounces. Half of it's protein. You're yielding 4 calories per gram of the protein, but you have 20.35 grams to an ounce. So let's just round it off. Let's say 28 ounces times 8. That's a lot of protein. 28 times 8, you're eating more than a day's entire, almost 2 days of protein in one item at one meal. So let's just say now that you have a nice plate with some sea vegetables, a nice big salad, a soup, you have some complex carbohydrate like a brown rice or quinoa or millet, and you have some starchy vegetables, and you have some beans. That's a perfect balance of nutrients. Gives you the full spectrum of fiber, protein, complex carbohydrates, essential fatty acids. The meat gave you none of that. No good oils out of meat, no good fats, excess calories. So when you start including potatoes into the diet, but not French fries again, and not mashed potatoes, but baked potatoes, for example, or you can boil potatoes, peel the skin, and then put some rosemary and Himalayan sea salt on it. It's delicious. And also one final thing, that by eating beans and peas, you improve your blood glucose levels, especially if you have diabetes or prediabetes. You're also getting really high quality fiber from potatoes, and that also can help bring your blood sugar level into a more balanced state. So have yourself a potato salad, scalloped potatoes, but have them. Now, another nutrient that's really good for high blood pressure is celery seed extract. There was a human study done at the University of Chicago Medical Center. We all know of all the drugs used to lower blood pressure, but there's lots of side effects. In fact, are you aware there were 678 million blood pressure prescriptions in just one recent year? Yeah. How many people took any of the herbs that can lower blood pressure? Very few. How many took cayenne 2 or 3 times a day, which can help? Garlic, lemon juice, celery juice, cucumber juice, very few. Magnesium, potassium, no. Quercetin, vitamin C. So you see, we have a whole way of controlling blood pressure if we look for it. All the current classes of blood pressure lowering drugs possess significant, even deadly side effects. A recent study with a special extract of celery seed extract indicates it can produce clinical results without producing any negative side effects, and that the plague of current drug treatments do. Celery seed extract contains an important compound known as 3N-butylphthalide, or let's make it simple, 3N as in Nancy, B, 3NB for short, that is also responsible for the characteristic flavor and odor of celery. 3MB was discovered as the active compound in celery in response to investigations by researchers seeking to explain some of the medical effects of celery, including lowering blood pressure and the relief of arthritis. It does both. Celery juice. If you have a 16-ounce glass of celery juice in the morning, and you put in the juice of 1 to 2 lemons, and maybe a small amount of an extract of, it's hard to juice. You don't get a whole lot of juice out of ginger, but if you put some ginger powder or ginger juice in that, makes a huge difference. So 3NB is important, and it's legitimate, and it's non-toxic, and it can lower blood pressure effectively. So that's just one of the things that people can do. Eat celery. That's good for you also. Yeah. In fact, they were able to take one blood pressure drop from 158/96 to 118/82. So this was a human study, and it works. Something natural, non-toxic that can have no side effects. And then finally, let's do something we can all do every day, and that is take a few moments to de-stress. I call it mindful awakening, meaning I'm sitting quietly 10, 15 minutes, no telephones on, and simply think of something that will take you to a more relaxed place where you're at. And whatever word you choose to use, just keep saying that word over and over again. You can say relax, relax, de-stress. Just, I'm de-stressing. You can say what you want your heartbeat to be, 50 beats per minute, or whatever it is. You can say what your blood pressure should be. When I do my meditation, I say 110/70. I just keep saying it slowly in my mind, not verbally, 110/70. And lo and behold, the doctor takes my pulse and it's 110/70. You see, what we put into our mind when we're conscious, but relaxed and non-distracted, the body and the DNA can actually remember and process. And it was interesting because this came to me. How I started doing it was in a race. It was a 40K race, 40K championship, and all the best athletes in America in that competition were there, about 130. They were all champion athletes. And it was a hilly course, New Jersey. It was a hot day in August. And I'm looking at people, and I'm seated 66th. My buddy's 67. We were going to do the race together. And all my buddy kept saying was, oh, it's so hot. These hills are so, so high. And it's going to be brutal just to finish this almost marathon, 24.8 miles. And I kept feeling my energy adversely affected. I felt it draining. And that's when I realized that the mind talk, his mind talk, I was absorbing. So what did I do? I simply went into a place that I just started, and I went into that mindful, and I said, the sun energizes me. I want more sun. I want it hotter. The hills are my friend, because I trained on a VersaClimber machine where you pull yourself up and push your legs and hands up, and it hits every muscle in your grip. It's aerobic and it's resistance. And then I was running up hills continuously when I was training. So I said, I'm ready for this. These hills are my friend. And everything I said, I'm no longer going to tell my cells what they can't do. I'm no longer going to be 67th coming in this race. And yet just then we hit the 10K mark, 6-mile mark, 1/4 into the race. And I was 67th. My buddy was 68th. And so I said to him, I'm going to go on my own. He said, where are you going? You stopping? And I just went. And I just kept saying over and over, like I'm suggesting you do, the mantra, over and over. Relax your muscles. Your muscles are free. And I visualized, my visualization was white light coming into my chi and pulling me. So using that white light, I was pumping my arms and legs, and I felt complete ease, no stress, at ease, relaxed. What was the outcome? I remember only once, near the end of the race, the whole road in front of me was blocked by national team guys, some Olympic guys who were the best. They were there. And I had to go up off the course, around the curb and back in front of them. I just remember hearing someone say, didn't we lap him? We lapped him, right? We lapped him. And someone else saying, I don't know. And then I felt, I felt right at the completion. And I looked around, I was the first American to finish the race. And that was a unique day for me because I used my chi and my mind to surrender fear, to surrender pain, to surrender limitation of a conditioned DNA. In other words, I surrendered the cells from doing what your mind talk will tell it. If you say, oh, so I can't do this, your cells won't do it. You'll be limited by what your self-talk is. That's true of everything in life, by the way. And if you doubt me, ask Luann Panisi. Luann didn't believe that she could do a marathon because she had never trained. She was there as a support person at the 20th mile, and she'd give people rub downs. They'd stop for a second. They got cramp in their calf. She'd rub it out. And she'd done that for 2 years in a row. On a Thursday, before the marathon, I said, you're going to do the marathon. She says, how can I do it? I've never trained. I said, use what you've been learning in the Mastering Life lecture series. And she was afraid, but she came and she did the marathon. And she finished halfway through the whole group. And no pain, no aches, no problems. She went on and then did the World Games, and she took a silver medal in the whole world. And all the women in her competition, she was second best in the world. Now imagine then what you can do if you don't believe you're limited. Now imagine what happens when you feel you are limited. I'm just not, I'm sorry, I'm not smart enough. I'm not skilled enough. I don't have the courage to do that. I don't, and suddenly all the reasons why you can't do something instead of why you should. And that's especially true in healing all disease. Believe in yourself, liberate your entire self, and see the outcome. Put them in your mind. Do your meditation each day. Focus on something you want to achieve or something you no longer want in your life. And then suddenly you're telling yourselves, don't react to negativity. Don't react to someone, yelling at you, screaming at you, toxic environment, toxic. Don't react to it. That's their problem, not yours. Don't make their problem in response to it yours. Otherwise you will. Just some advice. Oh, and by the way, it does work. Yesterday I did the state championship here. And USA Track and Field Association, Florida State Championships, got the gold medal. And I'm just the beginning of my training curve. I couldn't have done that had I not believed that I could do it. You're never going to achieve what you don't believe you can. So think about the consequences for you of believing in yourself at a deeper level. Just saying. We're going to take a break, come right back. And for those of you who just want more information on health and healing, we have a lot of it. I mean, a ton of health and healing information. Just go to PRN.Live or GaryNull.com, then go down and look for the newsletter. And today, the newsletter that I got this morning from John LaBelle was all about rebooting your brain. What's the second most prevalent neurodegenerative disease behind Alzheimer's? It's Parkinson's, which goes way back to the early 1800s when it was a form of palsy, and Dr. Parkinson coined it. But there's a lot we can do with Parkinson's disease. I mean, a lot. In fact, talk about a marathon. One of the people who was told he couldn't exercise anymore, had to be on meds, he came to the Mastering Life series I did, and then he did the marathon, and he did a really good time with no aid, no support. And he went on to do far more than that because he was telling his body he could do it. He had a holistic protocol, and the base of every single protocol I offer people is What do you have to live for? What do you believe in? And what's important for you now to have a new form of belief in yourself? Back in a moment. Please stay with us. Okay.
All right, perfect. We got it.